Hello and welcome to Freebie Share Saturday and welcome to my channel Making Crafts. So today I have a freebie share with you that is part of the Bohemian Summer collaboration that I am part of this summer, and it's a collaboration between Nonstop Papercrafts and Linedotarrow. And the freebie we're going to be using today is from Nonstop Papercrafts. And so I will link below to it, but I also made you guys a freebie myself this morning that will go along with this one, and I will link to my freebie as well. And so this collaboration is because the Linedotarrow and Nonstop Papercrafts came together and created two kits that go together, and so it's a huge kit when you put them both together to make a journal, but they're also given freebies each week. Now here's the freebie I created. So I printed my one of them on vellum, and then I also, just in case you didn't have vellum, I wanted to show you what you can do with just printing on copy paper. So we're going to do both today, and they're fairly simple crafts, but I thought this would be fun to make. So first what we're going to do is we want to cut this out, but I want to have a backside to it. And so if I print this again, they're really not going to match up because I would need to reverse it, and I don't even, some things on my printer I just don't know how to do like that. So what I decided to do, I mean, I could go into a program and do it, but then I wouldn't be able to explain it to you guys, and I want you all to be able to do this craft, and like I said every week, I want this to be an inexpensive, simple craft that anybody can follow along with if you're a beginner or if you've been crafting for a long time. So I just printed out one of the pieces from the kit, but you could print out any cardstock or just use any cardstock that you have in your stash. So this is on cardstock, and then this one is on cardstock as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these two sheets and I am going to paper clip them together to be sure that they stay together while I'm cutting them out so that they match up when I get done. Let me pull it over here away from, trying to get it tight there, away from the reel. So we're going to be making the reel today. So I already cut one out, but I'm going to show you how I do this. I just use my X-Acto knife. Now you could use a pair of scissors if you wanted to fold it over and cut it, but I'm going to show you how I use my X-Acto knife. Now be very careful if you use an X-Acto knife. I used to not like using an X-Acto knife. I was very scared of it, but if you'll just be careful, you should be okay. Now I am using a mat from the Dollar Tree underneath it so I don't destroy my good mat. So you see me use these a lot. I bought a bunch of these up just so I have them for different things. So when you're using an X-Acto knife, one thing is don't worry about cutting through both layers at one time. Just slowly cut, even if it takes several little cuts, because we are using cardstock, so it's going to take a little bit to go through. But I find that if you just do it lightly and don't, you put pressure on it, but don't exert so much pressure that you are straining, because then you can mess up and cut yourself or cut the wrong thing. So just take it slow. Don't rush through this. This is a good relaxing project, cutting these little squares out. And so that's what this morning I was cutting some out, and I found it very relaxing just to sit and cut. You could just turn on some music and sit and cut, or just sit in the quiet, depending on what kind of week you've had. You may just need it to be quiet. It varies for me from week to week. But so then I just start pressing it like that to see where my cuts need to go. And most of the time it's just a corner here or something holding it in. And don't worry if you leave a little white, because we'll go back and what we'll do is we'll ink all that to blend in. But having these match up is going to be so much easier than trying to ink a lot of white from the back side and front side, if that makes sense. And I'll show you what I'm talking about, because I first tried to, well, I can't find the other one. I was going to show you. When I first tried to cut them, I cut them that way, and this was going to be the front and the other's going to be back. But I just couldn't get to match up good, and I couldn't find an easy way to get it to match up to show you. So I figured this would be the best way. Now, if you have an electronic die cutting machine and you know how to scan and cut, or how to go in and do that, then this would be easier to do that. I do have a die cutting machine and I can do that. But for some reason, I just prefer fussy cutting and doing my own cutting most of the time. So it's more fun for me to do the cutting than to sit down with the computer and work with it. So I just seem to always cut things myself instead of using my electronic cutting machine. I used to love using it all the time, and I used it a lot. It probably would save me a lot of time, especially since I'm making videos and cutting everything out by hand. But now I do use it if I have like a digital that that has just fussy cuts in it, and I'm going like butterflies or flowers, something I'm going to use repeatedly, then I will go into my design studio, I think it's what it's called, I can't remember, on Silhouette, and work with it, and because it takes a few minutes to do it to get where it will, you know, I can print and cut. And so I will do that if it's something I'm going to use over and over. But something that I'm not going to use over and over, I don't. Now this one might be a good one to do, since you could use these reels not in just this journal that we're doing. This will be a beautiful color to go along with many different style journals. So this one might be one I need to go in and work with and see if I can't get my machine to cut. But for today, I decided just to do it this way. And I had a different freebie share to do with you all, and so this one's going to come out a little late because I just changed my mind this morning. I woke up this morning and I like the other freebie share, so I will share it with you later. But since this collab has started this week, I really wanted to share this project with you because I didn't have this idea until this morning, and so I made the digital for you this morning to put this reel together. And I was trying to think of ways to do the reel, and there's so many different things you could put inside this reel, but I thought this would be fun to have images that I think of when I think of a boho journal. But these images also are not just that. You could use these images in other journals as well, because it's just butterflies and feathers and flowers, things like that. So I thought that would be pretty. And I tried to do the background of the image, the reel here, so that it matches kind of the colors I'm going to be using in the journal. And this is my first Bohemian journal, or boho journal, I'm not sure the correct term, Bohemian style journal. And when I think of it for the boho, I think more of the boho style like you do for decorating stuff. It's more of the turquoises and bright colors, and I've never made one journal, so this is going to be interesting to see what I come up with this month using these papers and all the things that I've set aside for this journal. I'll have to show you. I've started pulling out some things, and I'll have to show you one day this week what all I'm pulling out and trying to decide. I may need your help. I have two different two different fabrics, sets of fabrics that I've thought of using, and I don't know which one I should use and which, so I may need you guys to help me out. So I'll put that video out this week so you can help me decide which ones I should use, unless I totally I haven't printed out this whole kit. Once I print it out, sometimes when I print the kit out and I lay the fabrics on it, I'll know exactly which ones I want to use and which ones is going to go best. So I'm going to speed this up so you don't have to watch me cut all of this out, and then I'll come back with this all cut out and I'll show you how I'm going to cut the circle out. So it took me about 15 minutes to get all of these cut out. And like I said before, if you're not comfortable with an X-Acto knife or you don't have an X-Acto knife, just use your scissors. You can, poke little holes in it and then just cut like a little X inside there and then cut around the edges. And that may be easier than the X-Acto knife, but I just this morning felt like the X-Acto knife would work better for me. Also, I left them paper clipped together because I want to ink them now, and I want to just run some, I'm going to use some peacock feathers from Distress Ink. It's just like a turquoise, yeah, I got the wrong, I was about to panic. I thought I had my brown sponge. I'm just going to get some of that on my little sponge here, and I'm just going to dab around because you're going to have white edges when you get done, because your paper is going to be white. The core is. If you're like me, the core of your paper is going to be white. Any paper that you print on, the core will be, but if you're using another one underneath, that one wouldn't be. But I'm just going to ink it up the best I can. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back with some brown on the inside there as well. But I'm doing the turquoise so that it or the peacock feathers, the turquoisey color, so that it kind of matches. You could use any inks that you had, or you could even, I probably should have done this, it may be easier to come through and just color the edges with with a marker. That may be easier as well if you had like any type of marker, really. I'm going to use my ink, so you could use any ink This is just one I pulled out that I thought matched pretty closely to these colors. And they blend really well. So when I bring the brown in, it'll blend with it pretty good. So I'm just going to come in like that and ink around. Just getting some of the white off. It's okay if we have some white. Also, these little spots here, I did not cut these out. I decided that I'm just going to color mine in with ink. So I'm just going to color them in with the blue and the brown, just so that it blends. They were really small to cut out, but also my thoughts were, will it weaken our little reel? I've never made one of these reels before, the viewfinder reels. I have never made one before, but when I saw it as part of this week's freebie, I thought it would be fun to try, and I think it'd be fun to add to a journal. I just had never thought about it, I guess, or tried. I think I've saw them before, but I just had never really gave it much thought. So I'm just going to keep these paper clipped together. So what I want to do now is I want to take my paper clip and I'm going to clip it on the inside here. Just clip it here. Oops. I better get that one up. I better get that. It fell on the floor. I better get it out of the floor before, onto my rug before one of the animals decide to eat it. That's the only thing with my crafting. I have to be very careful because I have small dogs and a cat running around. They like to hang out with me and I don't want them to get injured. So I paper clipped it together so that I don't lose the direction of this. I'm sure you could figure it out if you do, but I just didn't want to lose it. So I'm just going to cut around the edge first. And you will see there's some little spots that looks like it's nicked out. I'm going to go and just clip those out, but I'm going to wait till I finish cutting first. And I'm also going to go through and ink the edges of this little reel too. And we may have to do some trimming up when we get done, but this will be close. Okay, so like right here, I got a little bit hanging over. I can just trim that off. If you have a little bit hanging over like I do, just go back and trim the bottom layer off just a little bit to match up. And then when we ink it, you're probably not going to see the white edges, and it's not going to really show up that much anyway. I think I'll ink it on this mat here though, so I can get good inking in. I might come back with a little blue along the edge as well. I like the blue with it. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over now, and we need to ink around the little framed areas on the back as well, just to get some of that white covered in. It just lightly covers it up. But I think that looks good. Just scrunchie up a little bit to match the front. Okay, so this is a fairly simple project. Like I said, the first one I'm going to make, I'm just going to show you how to do it with the vellum. The vellum's very easy, but I know not everybody has vellum, and I'm actually down to 3 sheets. This was one of my 3rd sheets, so I have 2 sheets now. So I'm going to have to figure out where I got this. I got this vellum, this pack of vellum, many years ago. And I think I got it at an office supply store, but that store in our area has been gone for a long time. And so I'm pretty sure it's gone. Yeah, there's another store in its place. So I'm not sure where I'm going to get it from. I may can look online. I'll probably look on Amazon first because that's one of the easiest places to order from and get it quickly. But Michael's may have it as well. This pack has lasted me a long time, so once I find a pack, it'll last me a good time. But I'm just cutting around the edges here. I did leave you, this is the digital I made, and I left you a black line, but once we see if it's sticking out any, we'll trim it off. Also, when I made this digital, I made it so that when you print this page comes as a JPEG, and it comes in the European sizes, I think is what you call it. It's a larger size. So I always say fit to page. So it shrinks it down to fit to my page. And so that's what I printed it. So that's what I made this reel to fit, was the American size of print to page. So you may want to get like a piece of, before you print on your vellum, print on a piece of scrap paper and just see if it matches up. What I did was I just held mine up. When I was trying to make it, I held up the print here on just the regular paper to the slide up to a window, and I could see if it all matched up. So you may want to just print on some scrap till you get your size down pat, because you could just, if you need to, you could print at like 110% or whatever size you need to. You could make it a little bigger. Or if that doesn't work out, you could cut these individually and glue them on, but I don't think you're going to have to do that. So when I printed this one, I did keep in mind when I made it that the Dreamcatcher and the Don't Just Fly Soar are straight across from each other right here. So now this one, I don't remember. I'm going to have to look again. We might can figure it out and get it to line up perfectly the first time. But if not, I can just go look on my print to see what direction it's supposed to be. But that's looking pretty close there. Here's a sample that I printed out this morning, just trying to see if I could cut these out fairly square. So when it was on my printer, it was like this. So we'll just look here. So I'm looking for this little, I just look for a little image in it, and there's a little jagged line there with 2 lines beside it. And I just try to match it up on here, and I know that's straight up and down off the first one. So that is about, oh, here it is. So now I know that's going to be straight up and down off my sunflower, because I know that these two are on the sides, and so there it matches up. So kind of look for things like that when you print it, so that you can keep in mind how to line it up. And so I did all these colors because I thought with my journal I want it to be very colorful, so that's why the backgrounds are colored like this. So now it's very simple. All we're going to do is just glue it onto the inside of our piece here. So I just want to make sure that I keep the top here. I know what the top is on this one, but I need to make sure I remember what the top is on this one. So I'm just going to put my paper clip there so I don't struggle in the next few minutes. So we're just going to add glue onto our little reel here. And let me find my glue. So I'm just gonna, I'm adding glue to the reel, the cardstock on the reel instead of the vellum. That way I know that it's going to be covered up by the cardstock, because glue does show through vellum a lot of times. And like I said, I will link below to both of these freebies. They're both on Ko-Fi. One is at Nonstop Papercrafts, and the other one is going to be on my new Ko-Fi that I'm just setting up. So when you go there to download it, just overlook that it's not totally, I don't have all my pictures on there and everything's set up yet. But that's because I wanted to go ahead and offer this morning, and I've been wanting to move my freebies to I think you call it Ko-Fi or Coffee, I'm not sure. I used to have it on Buy Me a Coffee, but I'm trying to move everything to the new site, the Ko-Fi site. And I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right. So I'm just carefully adjusting this until I make sure everything is showing. And I'm not worried about this being around the edge there. If it sticks out, I can trim it off. Really what's important to me is getting each image into a little square without being cut off. And I was really surprised that you could still see these words, that the wordings actually showed up. I was afraid it was going to be too small. So I think that's pretty good. This one might be over to the side a little bit, but that's all right. That is fine. So let's take and just trim the excess vellum off. Just going to trim. Don't hit your cardstock, because then it won't match up with the other side of the reel, but you want to just trim off the vellum if you have any. And now I'm just going to come back, and I'm just going to add glue just where the cardstock is. I don't want it to get on any of my pictures, because then it's going to show through. I thought this was a fun idea to have a reel with a kit like this. I don't think I've ever had a reel come in a digital kit, but I have never, I am actually new to Nonstop Papercrafts Etsy shop. I just found it once I became part of, when I was asked to be part of the collab, so I'm going to have to check out more of her things. Okay, so This is supposed to be straight up, so I know that my sunflower is at the top. So let's see if we can get that lined up perfectly there. And let's see, just carefully. The reason I am using wet glue is because it gives you a few more minutes to move these things around. If you use like a glue tape, you're going to have to know immediately lay it in the right spot. But I think I got it pretty good there. Oh, I really like that. So now we need to work on the edges, trimming around any excess, and then we're going to ink them and get them looking prettier. Now, you know, you could use a die to cut the outer edge off. Cut around the round outer edge if you don't like cutting circles. I'm not great at cutting circles. I'm really not. So that may be what I should have done. But you see these, it's got little spots like right in here where it's white that you can nick out. I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to, so that way it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. If you take, let me get my smaller scissors to do that, and just cut these out. And then we'll come back with some ink to cover up that white. But see, it just kind of makes it look aged. Here's a little spot. I think I've cut off some of them already. Oh, here it is. I think where I inked them, that's why I'm not seeing them. There we go. This is a lot of fun. I may have to lay it under a book because my glue seems to be crinkling up my vellum, but that's okay. I can lay it under a book in a little bit. I do like that. Let's see, now we're going to ink it. But you know, I'm thinking it might need some black ink around the edges. Just a little bit. I just feel like it needs something to frame it out. And I think the black ink instead of the brown is going to frame this out better. Yes, that's looking a lot better. So I'm just going to kind of frame it out with the black ink. That kind of covers up your white edges. And it kind of frames out the whole reel and kind of finishes it off, I think. So let me just do the back side as well. Ooh, I like the black with that. And please don't hold me to the whole style that it's supposed to be. Sometimes when I get to crafting, I just do what I like, and maybe it's supposed to be a certain style, a certain theme. You know, if it's supposed to be boho style or shabby chic or what's the other, vintage, and then I wind up doing something that's totally not with the style, but hopefully that doesn't bother you. I kind of just like what looks good to my eye, and so that's just what I do. So here we've got this little hole. We could punch a hole here, and let's go ahead. I'm going to cut this out. I'm thinking about attaching it. I don't know that would be too big for my page right now. I don't think I will attach it to anything right now, but I'm thinking of attaching it in my book with a excuse me. What do you call those? Let me see if I have some I can just show you because I can't think of the names. What do you call these? I always forget the names of these, and I don't know why I can never remember the names, but these fasteners, they're paper fasteners. So you know that where they open up, they spread open and stay in. I'm thinking about putting, I'll go ahead and put it in there so that it'll be ready to be put in my book since I like this color with it. Or I could use a jewel, one with a jewel on it. So I've got, let's see here, and I bought these on clearance at Michael's years ago. So I've got a colored one there, a green color I mean, and then I've got a, what if we use like the pink, little pink jewel. I can't get my fingers on it though. Every color but the one I'm wanting. That's how it always is. Oh my goodness. I kind of like that too though, because I always want to go rustic, but I could go more flashy with this one. Okay, let me find my hole punch. Here it is. And I think I'll use the, oops, look at there, that's not gonna work. That's okay. I wasn't even thinking, was I? I have my Fiskars, that'll work just fine. Now I'm thinking if you don't have a hole punch and you don't have the Fiskars, I know that I'm always trying to tell you different things to use, but I'm trying to help you so that I don't want people to feel like they have to go out and buy everything that I have or that I use. So I try to come up with different things that you could actually do. That slid just a little, but we're going to ink that so we can't see that white either because the hole was not exactly the same size. But that's why I try to come up with my ideas, though, so you don't have to go out and spend money just to craft, which I love buying craft supplies. You might could take your awl and just put your awl in there, and that would be fine, because I almost made my hole too big anyway. I probably should have used the smaller Fiskars. But now, if you're curious about some of the stuff that I have a Amazon list where you can go to, and it does have my affiliate link, but you can see which products that I'm using and where I got them. So that's kind of in the center. I actually want to try one more thing. I'm trying to find the cardstock that we cut. Oh, where's it at? Oh, here it is. The cardstock that we cut for the back. I want to take and put a little, we'll try a one inch circle and see, and put it on the front here with this. I think I'm going to like that better. Okay. And then go right there. Just add it there. Okay, and we'll ink around it. I think it just adds a little something to it. I don't think you have to do that. And then for the back one, this is a scrap that I had. So I'm just going to use my scrap here. Or we could use, now, actually, let's not use that because I may use that one for something else. Let's take, and this ticket that came with it, with the papers today, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to get some of the color from it to add to the back there. I know I'm a messy crafter. So here, there we go. And then we'll ink around it. We'll add it to the back. It kind of just feels, I felt like the hole, just having the hole there, it just didn't look dressy enough. So now we're going to have to remake our hole. So let me glue that on the center there, and then we'll remake our hole. But I just felt like it just sticking there on itself. Just, I wanted a little bit more. And you don't have to add these things. It's just things I like to do. Because I do plan on adding this to my journal. I'm not sure exactly how yet, or where, but I want it to be added to the journal. We can repunch the hole just fine. Actually, now that I'm putting this on here, instead of punching it with this larger one, let's go back with the smaller one. That way my eyelet, not eyelet, I keep calling it eyelets. That way my fastener does not, make sure that's centered. That way my fastener doesn't fall through. It won't go all the way through, just in case. Don't think it would have before anyway, but there we go. The only thing about this kind, the Fiskars, is that it's very noisy. But there we go. And I think that jewel will be pretty in the center. And if I change my mind later, I can put a different one. These aren't permanent. You can take these off if you need to. But I think that's cute. I like that. So that's a very simple craft today, and I'll show you really quickly. What you would do is for this one, what I was thinking, so that you had, see this one you've got colors on both sides. It's just that everything's a little backwards and lighter. But if you're using copy paper, you wouldn't. So you would just cut this out. I'll do it really quickly. And then glue it on the back. So when you get the sheet, there'll be two on the sheet. So all you'll have to do is just glue them back to back and then put them inside of your reel. Let me see if I can find my other one. So we would just kind of quickly do it. So you would just kind of line up. Now I do hold it to the light to see if I can get the images lined up pretty straight. So let's put this one together really quick if you have a moment. We can do that because I want to show you that my whole thing is, when I show these things, is especially these freebie share Saturdays, I want you to be able to craft this weekend or craft this week and not feel like you don't have the supplies. It hurts me when I see people say, they tell me they want to start crafting, but they don't have the supplies. Or they, they say they don't have, they have to wait till they get this or that to start junk journaling, or, to start crafting. But you don't. If you get, as long as you've got a pair of scissors and a printer, you definitely can be crafting. And then if you don't have a printer, you could still, if you had magazines, I used the wrong glue because it always makes lines there. And then that's one thing you might want to keep in mind. Let me see. I'm not crazy about these white glues for this. I always use Fabri-Tac so the lines don't show through. Let's see if I had something to press it down with, which we'll just do that and see. It's not going to show through anyway because we have the cardstock covering it. But you know, you don't just say you can't do it with it if you don't have it. So if you don't have the vellum, just use the copy paper. I think the copy paper looks just as good as well. It's just as pretty. The vellum, it's a fun and easy idea. It's a few less steps, but use what you have and don't stress it, because it's fun to just craft and not have to worry. You know, don't worry about having all the right supplies when you start with. I have a lot of supplies, I know, but like I've said before in my videos, I have a lot of supplies because I have been crafting over 20 some years. So I've been crafting pretty much as soon as I got married, at around when I was about 18, so I started crafting then, and my supplies and some of my stuff, honestly, my craft supplies probably would be considered vintage now because, I've been crafting for so long, but a lot of things you can use over and over and they don't wear out. And I buy a lot of my stuff on clearance and stuff when I go to Michael's or Joann's. I used to go to Joann's and I would buy things on clearance. So just slowly stock up. And when you see all of us crafters on YouTube crafting, don't think you have to go out and buy all the supplies right now. Look around your house and see what you have that you could use in place of what we're doing. That's kind of fun to me too, to see somebody else crafting and figuring out a way to make that but different, and so it comes out looking different, but it's really cool to come up with different things. Let me see. Trying to get this lined up. So like I said, you might want to use some wet glue though, because that way you can turn this a little bit while it's still getting adjusted. I really like it with the copy paper. The only thing is I'm going to have to go through now and trim, because we didn't trim up. Let's trim it up. And so that was really quick. Oops, this one, the wording cut off just a little, but I think that's okay. It's all right. So let's see here. And then we can ink the edges with the black again. But I'm just cutting off the excess from the back because it all didn't line up perfectly. So I didn't cut that one out. They didn't cut them out the same time like I showed you. That was my first trial run and I wasn't happy with them, so that's why I tried a different way, and that's when I showed you the way that I found was easiest. So we'll just ink the edges now. Get them all blended together. Now I'm not going to worry about putting, oops, we got some white showing over here. I'm not going to worry about putting the hole in this one and the paper fastener because I just want to show you real quick, and I know you probably don't want to hang around for that again. But I just wanted to show you the two different ways that you could create these and how simple it is. And let's see here. I have the little pink sticking out the edges there. I think I like that, so I'm just going to leave it. So there you have it. You can do it with copy paper, which looks really good, or you can do it with the vellum, which looks really good as well. So actually with the copy paper, I think it all looks brighter, so it depends on what look you're going for, but I do like that. I may have went a little fast there, it's a little uneven, but it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but hopefully this has inspired you to craft today and to get your supplies out and create something. And like I said before, I will link to these freebies, and I would love to see yours. And I had someone ask me this week about that, and I don't think you can share it with me on YouTube. I don't know how you would do that, but I am on Instagram. If you look at my description, I am on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and so if you tag me, and I have that in my description below, it's at Making Crafts Studio. If you tag that on Instagram or Facebook, then I should be able, if your post is public, I should be able to see it. But I would love to see, and you can even message me through my Making Crafts Studio Facebook page. You can message me with your crafts. I love to see what everybody's making, and I love to see that I've inspired you to create something. So I hope that these have inspired you, and I hope you have fun creating this week. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.